breaking down Red Raider baseball like only we can. This is the Talkin Baseball Podcast from Double T 97.3 and DoubleTSportsNetwork.com.
Welcome into another episode of Talkin Baseball, powered by the Double T Sports Network, alongside Jamie Lint. I'm Choice Woodman. This podcast, as usual, brought to you by our friends over at Andrews Brothers. Jamie, Red-Black series in the books. We'll dive into that today. We'll find out what we learned, if anything, from the series, who stood out as far as performers go, and we'll turn the page towards the spring, when baseball is played, and we will let Jamie give us his projected starting nine, which might be a little tougher now than it was even a week ago, because there's some guys that you and I have discussed fall-wise that really you didn't necessarily had penciled in starting spots that performed pretty well in the Red-Black series.
Yeah, you got to the last week of the season and Coach Tedlock mixing some things up with some guys playing in different positions, and it makes you wonder, was that, it's the last week here, let's see if they can handle it, or was that, hey, I'm not happy with what I'm seeing.
Sure.
I think we can improve doing this. And so it makes it a little bit difficult, a little bit more difficult to project as to who's going to start in what spot. Of course, the coaching staff would tell you we got the full, spring. You'll have, about 3-4 weeks of practice.
Right.
Some of it individual and then team practices that is going to ultimately go a long, long way in deciding who gets those starts when it comes February 13th and beyond. But at the same time, you can kind of look at what you saw in the fall over that sample size and have a good idea of who's going to be playing where and who's going to probably get the most reps.
Yeah, so we'll get into that as far as the lineup or projected lineup goes. But what did we learn, if anything, from this Red-Black series?
I think one of the things that I feel like that we learned is the thing that has really very encouraging to me. I think as the fall has gone along, and the fall probably wrapping up for the Red Raider baseball team this week. They still are able to do some individual workouts beyond the Red and Black series, so there's still some of that going on. But either this week or next week, they wrap that up. And remember, December 1, they have to turn in their roster to the NCAA,
right,
just like everybody else does in college baseball. And so that's a little bit different now. Those players that ultimately will get cut, and they'll be anywhere from 6 to 9 for the Red Raiders, have an opportunity to go somewhere else for the spring. So that's a little bit different. But back to your main question. Sorry, I kind of went off there.
Nope,
the things that we learned or this fall, I think that what was really encouraging to me was as we went along in the fall, I felt like the pitchers got better and better. And I feel like the walk rate went way down compared to what we were seeing early on in the year. I feel like there were some guys that really stepped up that you felt like, yeah, that guy's got a chance to be a really good weekend starter for us. Now, there were other guys that were hit or miss that you're kind of wanting to see step forward, but there were other guys that you feel like took a big step in the right direction. So the thing that I would say about the fall ball, you look at the Red and Black series, specifically Choice, and Black team, as predicted by myself here, Choice. You
notice I'm wearing black and you're wearing red.
Black team swept the series. You asked me who I thought I was going to win. They took all three.
You're right.
All three games were competitive. 12-11, 8-4, and 8-6. The 8-4 game was actually a 4-1 game going to the sixth inning, and the Black team exploded for. Really, Davis Rivers exploded.
He did,
and they scored 7 runs in those 2 innings and won at 8-4. So all three highly contested. So they did a good job matching up the teams and making them tight. Unfortunately for the Red team, Black team won all 3 of those games. But I feel like as the Red and Black series went along, I feel like the pitchers in the fall in general got better. I think we saw less walks. I think we saw more strikeouts, which I think is a positive thing. You still saw good offense, don't get me wrong. There were plenty of guys that were hammering the ball out of the ballpark and putting good swings on balls. But at the same time, I think you're feeling a little bit better about what you're seeing from the pitching staff. I think there were some really good performances from the pitching staff. Guys like, for example, Logan Addison.
Mm-hmm.
Logan Addison, a
home
guy
kid,
to me who has taken a big step forward last year. Great fastball, but struggled with his command. And we see he had 2 different appearances. One was in save situation. Gave up one walk in the 2 appearances. Had 3 strikeouts and didn't give up a hit. He looks really good. He looks the ability to throw strike one. Coach Tadlock always talks about that. Ability to throw strike one and spot your fastball. And he's doing that. He's mixing in other stuff, but it starts with being able to throw a fastball for a strike, and he's doing that. And we all know he's got a great arm. It's 97, 98 on the gun. So Logan's one of those guys that's really taken a step forward. I think Will Jordan, from the beginning of the fall to where he ended up the end of the fall, was a massive difference. He was struggling early on in the year, and you kind of expect some of that in the fall. But Jordan's another young arm. He'll be just a sophomore this year. 2 appearances for him, 3 innings of work. Gave up 1 hit. It was a home run, but also struck out 6 batters in 3 innings of work.
Yeah.
Okay, so Will was really, really impressive. Parker Hutera looks fantastic.
I like that.
At the end of the fall,
Yep.
he would have made such a huge difference had he not gotten hurt a couple of different times last year for the Red Raiders. So having him back and healthy will be massive for this team. A guy who has stepped up that maybe we haven't talked much about, that maybe nobody's heard about because he was here with the Red Raiders last year, but redshirted, was Dylan Blakey. Blakey's a left-hander. He's increased his velocity this year. He threw terrific really all fall and was maybe the surprise of the fall camp. And so Blakey's been really, really good. I think Jackson Burns is pushing for that. I want to be a Friday night guy. He looks great on the mound. Jackson is another guy that redshirted after making just 1 appearance in the opening weekend, then got sick. Burns has come back, and he looks great. So I think you're seeing more and more pitchers that you're confident are going to take big steps forward, and now you're hoping the other guys do that as well. Remember, we didn't see Ryan Free at all this fall, and he's a guy that's expected to be a weekend starter for you. But there are other guys, Connor Mohan and Lucas Perko, that you feel like have the talent. They just need to do it consistently.
Yep.
And so those 2 are 2 guys that I feel like are going to be a big factor for the Red Raiders in the spring, but you need them to take a step forward from where they were last year and where they were this fall.
I think one of the things after you're coming off of a bad season like you had last year, one of the things you look for is, okay, what's different? And obviously there's personnel changes and quite a few of them, including some coaching staff personnel changes. So there's that's pretty obvious. But one thing you and I have talked about is the walk numbers, and you pointed that out some. But the walk numbers are down a lot, and that can help a pitching staff out and a team out, obviously, a ton. Because if you give up a home run, a solo shot here and there, it's not that big of a deal. But if you've loaded the bases up before you give up that home run with free passes. So, I think that's something that at least is encouraging from a pitching standpoint. You look at the numbers from the Red-Black series, and it's still very offensive. You've got a lot of home runs. You have multi-home run performances from Logan Hughes and Davis Rivers. Really, I mean, you got some pop, no doubt. A lot of left-handed pop, at least on display this past week.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot of guys stood out. Some of them that I highlight for you today. Kyler Thompson.
Yeah.
I feel like Kyler last year, who was basically your starting center fielder for the entire season, but didn't hit for that high of an average. We all know about his 30 for 30 in stolen bases last year. He's a guy that can really go, but he's got to get on base more. And I think Kyler has come back. His body looks different. He looks thicker, stronger, faster than he was a season ago, which is really saying something because, again, 30 stolen bases is pretty impressive. But Kyler looks like a guy that is ready to take that next step. He's got more pop in his bat. Not that he's just launching all the time, but he's ripping balls, hitting them hard. He went 5 for 13 in the series. I thought he looked really good. A guy that we've talked about a little bit is Lincoln Garcia. Garcia, the freshman who will play shortstop or one of the infield positions for the Red Raiders, is a terrific hitter. He didn't play in the last game of the series, but still went 6 for 9 with a homer, a triple, and a couple of doubles, drove in 4, scored 4 runs. this guy's going to be an important part of who you are this upcoming season. There's no way around it. He is a terrific young talent. Those two were on the red team, so the black team probably had more guys that stood out since they won all 3 games, and that would definitely be the case. I think Tracer Lopez looked great for the Red Raiders, 5 hits and 11 at-bats. Tracer doing what we saw him last year when he went into the leadoff position. His approach changed, and he was hitting the ball more the opposite way. He was keeping the ball on the ground more. He was using his speed, all of those things. And I think that's what we're seeing from Tracer right now. Whether he's going to hit leadoff or not, I don't know. But at the same time, you still need that from Tracer Lopez. So hopefully that continues. I thought he looked great in the red and black series. He's so important to this team, I think, leadership-wise, defensively for the Red Raiders, whichever position he's going to play. I think he's so incredibly important for this team. His numbers won't be the best. I mean, Logan Hughes and others they'll get the headlines. But I think Tracer Lopez is one of the key players on this team. So speaking of Hughes, a monster series for him, 5 for 8, 2 homers, 5 driven in, scored 6 runs, and was walked 3 times. That means he reached base safely in 8 of the 11 trips he came to the plate. With Logan, we saw him hit one. What choice? It was 477.
Oh my goodness!
Okay,
yes.
Definitely there was some wind aided on that day.
Well,
but still, massive blow. In his next at bat, again he homers to right field on a deep fly. So, but here's the thing: later on in the series, when his team is tied late in a game and they're shifting against him, Logan Hughes is slapping the ball through the shortstop hole to drive in the go-ahead run.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not all about I'm going to swing for the fences. I'm going to try to hit it as far as I can. Logan's a great baseball player. He does what the game gives him, and in that situation, hey, we need any way possible to get this go-ahead run in. Logan's going the other way, slapping the ball through the infield to score, and that's. I think that's massive. That's why he's able to hit for average and for power.
That's allowed. You can still do that in baseball today, where you don't have to swing for the fences every single time.
And you can hit the ball the opposite way,
What?
too. Shocking.
It is crazy.
Right. Speaking of that, Davis Rivers, 5 for 8 as well, just like Hughes. He homered 3 times, drove in 7, had 2 doubles, scored 3 runs, and they threw at him and hit him twice. No, they didn't throw at him, but they did hit him twice. Probably the red team wanted to throw at him as the success that he was having. So in one game, game 2 for Davis, Rivers in his first at-bat goes the opposite way and homers into the left field bullpen. In his second at-bat, he homers to straightaway right field. That was a 2-run shot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we got a solo, we got a 2-run shot. We know what's coming up next. Came up in the next inning with 2 guys on base and goes out to left center for a 3-homer game. A solo, a 2-run shot, a 3-run shot. Disappointing he didn't get a 4th shot at it. But anyway, Rivers had a massive series. And, I don't know where Rivers is going to play or what spot he's going to be in. But Davis Rivers is definitely showing that he is going to be a big factor for the Red Raiders this year. But his ability to with the power that he has to go the opposite way, to pull whatever, it's just, you go back and look at his numbers from last season. Like, he only had 20-something hits. 75% of them were extra base hits. So can you get Davis to still do those things with the power and the run production and all that, but also sprinkle in some more singles in there so he's hitting, 275 or 250 or whatever, and putting pressure on a defense as well. So it's not all about the long ball. But Rivers really had a great red and black series, and really, I think a really good fall overall. After he was a little bit banged up early in the year, and they weren't letting him catch, but catching, looking good, doing that at the end of the fall as well. So Rivers had a monster series. And one other player, no surprise to you, Robin Villeneuve, hit 500 in the red and black series, 5 for 10, homered, a couple of doubles, 3 runs driven in, scored 3 runs, walked. He's doing all the things that Robin is doing, that we saw all year last year, both offensively and defensively for the Red Raiders. So those were some of the guys that really stood out and had big series. Shouldn't be much of a surprise. Those are some of the key guys for you last year. But then there were some new names in there like Lincoln Garcia, like Dylan Blakey, and It's great to see guys take big steps forward.
Yeah, you need it.
Like Blakey has, like Jordan has on the mound, like Logan Addison has. But it's also great to see the veterans come back. And it's kind of funny. I think I said this to you. I felt like Logan Hughes all fall had been just he was just okay. He was just okay.
Just going through it.
Yeah, I don't know if like the competitive fire just wasn't there. I mean, he was good, but he just wasn't Logan Hughes. We get to the Red and Black series, and there's something on the line. There's games to be played, and Logan Hughes is a different dude. Okay, he's putting on an absolute show, and you're like, oh, that's why he was first team All Big 12.
Looks like an All-American.
Yeah,
the Red Black series.
That's why they're projecting him to be a first or second round pick in the draft this upcoming summer. So it was nice to see him kind of turn it on when the Red Raiders were playing some games that quote unquote matter. There was some, I think, friendly trash talking going on in the Red and Black series. So I think those guys wanted to beat each other.
Of course they do. Yeah. If they didn't, there's probably a problem with
no doubt.
The competitive nature going on.
Way more fun to win.
All right, so we'll pause for a moment from our friends at Andrews Brothers and be back next with Jamie's projected starting 9 for the spring.
When you want the brand in West Texas roofing, there's only one company to call, Andrus Brothers Roofing. Like our Red Raiders, Andrus Brothers knows that to win, you have to be better than your competition and you have to dominate in all phases. With over 40 years experience, Andrus Brothers has mastered these concepts. So when the high winds and debris damage your roof, there's only one company to call, Andrus Brothers Roofing. Accept no substitutes. Stick with the starters on the ABR winning team. Andrus Brothers Roofing, we nail it every time.
All right, Jamie, putting a lot of pressure on you.
Yes, you are.
Those aren't baseball pants you're wearing. I thought you might wear some Tim Tadlock pants today, but I'm going to let you get into the mindset and tell us who your starting 9 is. You can even throw in a weekend rotation as it sits right now if you want as well.
Well, just so you know, I didn't wear the pants because my stirrups were dirty.
Oh, that's fair.
Got to have the clean stirrups.
Well, then you don't want to get your shoes dirty on top of that.
So no doubt. All right, so as I told you, because some things, guys moving around, makes this a little bit more difficult. But I'm gonna throw this at you. Okay. I would tell you that the way Davis Rivers has played towards the end of the fall, I think I head into the spring thinking that he's the leader in the clubhouse at the catching position. Okay. I don't think he's your best offensive catcher. But I think his offense, if he's swinging the bat like that, it's nearly impossible to keep him out of the lineup. Right. Now, Matt Quintanar was really, really impressive throughout the fall, but he kind of was slow in the Red and Black series. And I'm not going to try to sit here and tell you today, well, what you do in the Red and Black series is going to determine who starts in the spring. Not trying to do that.
Right.
But I just think Davis Rivers showed his potential, what he can do, his run production. So those two are right now your top 2 catchers, and Rivers obviously can be a DH as well. Quintanar actually he's a versatile guy. He played some third and some short, from second for the Red Raiders, and I thought he looked comfortable playing over at third base. So who knows where he's going to end up playing? But I mean, I think the majority of time, both of those guys, it's behind the plate. And Coach Tadlock maybe going with the hot bat, or maybe it's a platoon situation because Quintanar is a right-handed hitter. Rivers obviously the lefty, so maybe it goes back and forth with those guys. All right, at first base, Robin Villeneuve is still your best defender. He's a terrific defender. He takes away so many hits in the hole between first and second base. Great leader. Villeneuve also showed in the Red and Black series he can play left or he can play right and look good doing it. If you feel like, if Coach Tadlock feels like there's an opportunity to put, Caden Ferraro or Hollis Porter in at first base and get a lineup that's more offense, dictated on offense, and you can put Rob Villeneuve at a corner outfield position, you're not going to notice a drop-off at all. He can play that position really well. And so, but I would imagine that Robin Villeneuve is going to be here at first base. Okay, now we get to the guessing game. Okay, I think I think Lincoln Garcia is your starting shortstop. Okay. I think Coleman Ryan is taking big steps forward offensively. I think he is the best defender at shortstop. But I think Lincoln Garcia is really good too. Okay.
Yeah.
And Lincoln Garcia's bat absolutely plays, and so you got to find a way to have him in the lineup. Now, could you be in a situation where late in a game you're going to put Coleman Ryan in there to play defense when you have a lead, sure. I think those things could absolutely happen. I think Coleman Ryan, again, I like the progression from that young man. I feel like he's taken steps forward, and I've always liked his defense. But Lincoln Garcia is a special player. There's no doubt about it. So, second base and third base, okay? For most of the fall, almost all of the fall, we saw Tracer Lopez at second base, and we saw Connor Schaus over at third base, Schaus, the Georgia Tech transfer. Coach Tadlock flipped him in the red and black series. I think Tracer Lopez is your best defensive third baseman. Okay? I think Connor Schaus is a terrific athlete, great hitter. You want him in the lineup, all the above. I don't think he's as good defensively at either position as Tracer is. So the question that Coach Tadlock has to answer is, where's the position where I could get away with, I don't want to say weak defender, but not as good of a defender.
Yeah.
Okay? Third base is a harder position to play, but is second base more important because you turn in double plays and all of those things.
Right.
So right now, I think Tracer Lopez starts at third and Connor Schaus is at second. That may be crazy talk, but I think that's where you're best defensively.
I don't think that's crazy because what we saw, at least in the Red-Black series, Tracer looked very comfortable at third base.
He shows us, I mean, you don't really maybe notice as much his strong arm when he's playing second, but, I mean, he made a dive and stop down the line, hopped up from foul territory and gunned a guy out over at first base in the Red-Black series. I mean, made a big league looking play. He's got the arm strength. I think second base is more his natural position, but he's such a good fielder that I think he can play third.
Yeah, he's played plenty of shortstop in his time at Texas Tech too, so he's that side of the infield's not foreign to him.
That's fair. All right, so moving on to the outfield. Now, will that change? Like I'm saying before, in a late game situation when you're going defense and you got a lead, and would that change? Probably some of that would change. Probably would bring. If you're bringing Coleman Ryan in to play short, maybe Lincoln Garcia, who also looks fine over at third, he could play third. Tracer's over to second. Whatever. You have options whether you're going with the bats or you're going with the gloves.
Right.
Okay. What are you focusing on there? So, anyway, to the outfield, Logan Hughes is going to start in left field. I would imagine that's what I'm probably the most confident in, right?
Of anything.
Anything. Okay. Yeah. Although he probably is your second best first baseman. Okay. Center field, Thompson and Jace Souza. I thought Jace played well in the fall. Really, overall, showed really. I think that showed that he can hit to all fields. Showed that he's got a strong arm in the outfield, which center field would fit for him having a strong arm. Runs down a lot of balls. Right now, I would put Kyler Thompson on top though, with his speed, with his ability. And then, again, you got a right-handed bat and you got a left-handed bat there. So would there be some platooning going on between those two guys? And I think Souza also will play plenty of right field as well. I think him and Caden Ferraro are over there as your top right fielders right now. Ferraro is the Blinn Junior College transfer, left-handed hitter. Can really swing it. Solid defensively and right. Definitely not as good as Sousa. Probably not as good as Robin Villeneuve either out there in right field, but handles his own just fine and really can hit. So always has a high on base percentage, all that good stuff. So he's a guy you want in the lineup as well. So that would be my guess. Okay. Heading into finishing up fall ball and heading towards the spring. That would be my guess of what the lineup looks like. Obviously matchups day-to-day matter. Like we said before, you got, 4 weeks of practice heading into those games in the middle of February that are going to be the biggest deciding factor. It's not going to be the red and black series, but it's going to be who's playing well going into the start of the season. But right now, that's kind of where I would have it.
All right, weekend rotation real quick.
I think Jackson Burns. Okay.
It's your Friday night guy, or just in the mix? Yeah,
I would go Jackson Burns. I would go Ryan Free. And then the third guy, I still think Lucas Perko would be that guy. Those would be the three that I would kind of bet on the most. Again, there are other guys that will be in the mix there, understandably so. It's just hard to gauge in the fall when your guys are only throwing 2 innings at a time for the
Yeah,
most part. There were
of
a
course
couple in the
there is.
red and black. Adam Hayes, one of them. I've mentioned Adam before. He's the freshman right-hander from Colorado. He ended up throwing 3 innings in one of the games. So there are other guys that are going to challenge for those spots. It's just a matter of, who comes back strong from the Christmas break and who looks the best going into mid-February.
Yeah, and obviously in the Tim Tadlock era, you value that number one reliever as much as you do.
There you go. Absolutely.
Any of those starters. So
yeah. So, and I think that's Parker Hutera. That number one reliever. That's who I would lean towards. He's looked really good towards the end of the fall.
Yeah,
so.
I think he absolutely, if he can stay healthy, he can lock that roll up and really make things quite a bit different than they were a season ago. All right, well, thanks for hanging with us all fall. We will still bring episodes here and there between now and spring. We'll maybe bring some guests on like we had with Davis Martin a couple of weeks ago. So be watching on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, doubleTSportsNetwork.com. Be watching out for more episodes of Talkin' Baseball, and then once we get into the spring, we'll get back on a full-time regular schedule, bringing you action every single week. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. For Jamie Lent, I'm Choice Woodman. It's been Talkin' Baseball, powered by the Double T Sports Network.
Breaking down Red Raider baseball like only we can. This is the Talkin' Baseball podcast from Double T 97.3 and DoubleTSportsNetwork.com.